Hey there, Transformers, tuning in from across all platforms. It's Thursday, and we are live for our second Lunch and Learn. Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I used to go live on Thursday nights, but we've shifted that now to Thursday middays for a little bit of a lunchtime break to recenter you on how you can prioritize yourself, your health, your professional ambitions as you move throughout your day. So I'm so excited for my guest today. We met in an engineering working moms Facebook group and then realized we're both working as coaches in different ways to support women in STEM. So I could not be more excited to have Carol Dougherty. Did I say that right, Dougherty?
It's close enough. Okay. The family pronounces it Dougherty, but
Dougherty. I like that much better than my pronunciation. But Carol is with me today. She has owned her own business for a long time, much longer than I have been in business.
Almost a dozen years now.
That's amazing. I was going to put you at around a decade, but I didn't want to short sell you. So Carol, I'd love for you to introduce your line of work, what it is that you help your clients with, and what really got you into this field.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Caroline. It's awesome to talk to other women who are helping women in STEM. So I did this journey. I started off as a ChemE, worked in manufacturing, got my MBA, moved up the ladder, and did all of that and had some really funny jaunts through that, which I'm sure one of them I know I'll talk about today. But I realized that I really liked helping people grow and helping people succeed more than anything else. That was the part of my day that was exciting. That's what got me excited to go in, especially as a supervisor, helping them succeed. That was way better than the technical stuff and all. So we had our family move. For my husband's career, we moved, and there wasn't manufacturing. But time to change jobs. So because I liked helping people succeed, that's when I was able to say, you know what, I want to go do training and development. And so I went into that in 2006 and worked for a company doing that, ended up going out on my own as a consultant and doing some of it that way. And in 2012, I started, again, another move. It was the reason. So my husband's in commercial construction. So we moved again. And I took that opportunity to say, I want to pick up coaching. I want to start coaching people, not just because I'd worked with another coach who I love dearly. He's a good friend. Still talk to him. So I decided to learn coaching, and that's when the coaching portion came into the play, was in about 2013. And in the last couple of years, I've really focused on women in STEM because I'm joining the Engineering Moms group and some other things, I keep hearing all these women talk about the same things I dealt with 30 years ago. And it's insane. It makes me crazy. You can ask my kids. I rant about it, and I beat my younger son, who is an engineer, that you better not ever treat women this way. And he's like, "Why would I?" So fortunately, he's learned. But it's frustrating that the engineers who are his age are fighting those same things. And so I was able to get through it. So I decided, okay, let me focus on sharing what I've learned and how to grow your career without giving up who you are. Do it authentically without burning out and without giving up your personality, but still succeed and grow. So that's what I've been focusing on the last couple of years in a nutshell.
Yeah. And literally in a nutshell, because there's so much dynamic that goes into it, right? When you really dive in to explore why things are the way they are, it's a complex problem to solve. And really, as coaches, we understand that we're never going to solve them alone, right? That it has to be part of linking arms with so many people and perspectives and experiences. And I say people because solving the problem of women leaving the workplace or women feeling unfulfilled in the workplace is not only a woman's problem to solve, right? And there are many male allies. I've worked with many male allies who, love to see the advancement of the female leaders within their organizations. But it is a problem for everyone to solve, and for those who don't identify as male or female, and how they can continue to experience the professional success and growth that they'd like to experience, and how that journey is reflected in their careers. So we understand that it's a complex problem to solve. Today, we're sharing our own experiences, our own belief systems in how to solve some of these problems. If you have any questions for Carol or I in this discussion, please drop them on the video, whether you're watching live or watching on replay. We will make sure we get those answers to you. We're broadcasting today to YouTube, LinkedIn, and to Facebook. So we've got plenty of ways that you can engage with us through those platforms, but make sure that you drop those comments and we will get those answers to you. So let's dive in. Like you said, we're going to talk about one critical piece of your career trajectory, and that is the pivot, right? And specifically, how to know when to pivot, where to pivot, and why pivoting might be important for anyone to experience the type of professional success that they want to experience. So you talked about it being kind of not a forced hand for you, but what sort of work did you put into deciding how to pivot? And then when you work with clients who want to pivot, what are the types of things that you're having them do?
Well, so first, for my own journey, the very first time I left engineering was after my first job out of college. It was a toxic work environment, horribly toxic. And to relate to you, what you do with folks, I was burned out. I had lost all confidence in myself. I was physically ill most of the time, suffering from chronic fatigue, digestive issues, all kinds of things. And it was just to be in such a toxic environment. So I ran. Yeah. I took the first way out I could find and switched. I actually became a recruiter working for a headhunter, recruiting chemies and chemists. Yeah, that was not a good plan. And I didn't have a plan. I just ran. It was, I got to get away from the place. So I ran away. It didn't work real well. I was only in it for about 6 months. The guy I worked for was awesome. He actually said, you need to get back in engineering. And he didn't place me in the next job, but he helped coach me to get that job. And then when I moved again, he was the one who placed me in my next job. And it was the last job actually I had where I was in that technical world, and I was with that company 14 years. Wow. So, so when you go to change, for me, the first time I ran away, instead of realizing that it wasn't me, it was them. I didn't know it at first. I didn't realize that my failure to succeed and thrive where I wasn't my fault. It was the situation I was in. And I think that's when you're looking at pivoting and you're saying, this doesn't work, I got to get out. And that's something I tell clients is if they want to leave engineering, you got to look at why. What is your reason for needing to get out of engineering? If you think you're not good enough, you're not succeeding, so on and so forth, let's talk about, is it the environment? Are you in a toxic place where they're constantly questioning you, doubting you, and eroding your confidence in your capability? That's not you. So to me, that's the first thing. Why do you want to leave? And really understanding that. I'm working with somebody now who is looking at maybe she's at a crossroads. And it gives her a chance, and she may be moving further away from where she started. And it's, why would you say yes to that job? It was one of the questions when she was going to interview. And I don't do, per se, interviewing prep. I'm not good at resumes. I can give you my opinion, but I'm not going to help you write a resume. It's more around that mindset. And so for me, working with her, it was, what would make you say yes to that job? And she hadn't thought about that. It was just like, oh, well, this is an opportunity. It gets me out of where I am.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so why? And so looking at that why, I think that's the big reason. And that's what I like to help people with. And for me, leaving engineering was, I realized I liked helping people grow more than the technical side of it. I was good at it. I kept getting promoted. Yeah. And so I had a lot of success there, but it didn't fulfill me. What fulfilled me was when I could help my people get a new job, grow their skills, get considered for a promotion, whatever it was. That was the fun part.
Yeah, man, if I had known you in the summer of 2018, we probably would be not having this exact conversation right now, because boy, do I resonate with that. You know, I was in an environment where I felt like a failure and experienced burnout. And I very vividly remember thinking, I'm not cut out for this. Like, I don't have what it takes to succeed in this environment. And when I came to that realization, when I looked at the jobs that seemed available to me, they were all doing the same thing. And it didn't feel like an opportunity to pivot. It felt like an opportunity to just like move into the same, you know, just to jump a track, right? And go in the same direction, but on a different track. And so I think that's a key piece I want to hone in on is, say, you know, that the environment or the culture is not right for you, but you also feel just misaligned with the experience that you've had, right? So like you, technical leader, I was being, you know, like this, Caroline, you're going to be a plant manager someday. You're going to be the director of engineering or in manufacturing someday. Like, this was very clearly the path that my organizations wanted for me that I didn't want for me, right? And so it was hard for me to look at what other possibilities might exist that didn't require me to start over from zero. Well, I did start over from zero because I started my own business. But what is the advice that you would give a client of, okay, we don't need to just jump track. We need to actually pivot. And here's how to take this experience that you have and really be able to sell yourself in a truly new direction.
So interestingly, I worked with somebody, and it was right before the pandemic. So I think she got derailed at that. But she had been being successful where she was, but again, it was no longer working for her. So, but she didn't know how to take all the different things she had done that got her where she is and figure out, how do I package that to go to, it wasn't a full pivot, but it was a, 25, a quarter turn, right? She's going, and how did she build? So she couldn't even open the job section on LinkedIn. She was practically having panic attacks if you told her to go to Indeed. She'd gotten herself that freaked out by, I know what I want to do, but nobody's going to hire me for that. So we spent most of our coaching time talking about what is it that she wants to do and why does she want to do that? So where is this coming? So some of it is, where is it coming from? And so she talked about, well, when I was in this job, I was doing this kind of stuff and I really liked it and it went really well, and then the company folded. Okay, not her fault. It wasn't her failure.
Right.
So but she felt like it was a failure because that job disappeared. So, and it was during the recession in 2008, 2009. Nobody's fault, right? You can't blame an individual for that. But so we started talking about then looking at those pieces of her past that she really liked and what she liked about the job she was doing now and what she hated. So then you start understanding what works, what doesn't. And then, okay, so where is it you think you might want to go? What's appealing to you? If you look at stuff, which ones catch your eye? And, which one, that could be a cool job. Okay, so let's look at it. And how does what you like fit with that?
Yeah.
And then you'll get that resistance of, well, yeah, okay, I'd love to do this. I think I can do it. Okay, let's talk about how you can. What is it that you've been doing that will help you do what you want to do? For me, that was very much the case. I went from being a supervisor of strategic sourcing to a technical trainer.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
not a logical switch by any and I went from manufacturing to a technical trainer in construction.
Yeah.
Uh, so it's like, well, that doesn't work. Well, I had done project management. I am an engineer. And I'd been married to the business for 20 years at that point, so I understood construction, but
Yeah.
I understood what the people did, and I can communicate it.
Yeah.
And I can So it's digging into people's experiences to help them figure that out. And how do I do it? Do I keep doing something similar to what I had been doing, but in a healthier environment? And how
Mm-hmm.
do I tell if it's a healthier environment versus, okay, you know what? This just isn't working for me.
Yeah.
So let me go do this. And then how do you get yourself in the mindset, I can do that?
Yeah. I think the communicating your ability to succeed in that new role is a key piece here, because I've had, those times in my life, actually, again, very similar to you, of being a people manager and thinking, okay, well, I don't love being on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I don't love having arguments with grumpy mechanics, all throughout the day. I mean, I am very fond of so many people that worked for me and I worked alongside, but yeah, it was a high stress job. And I thought, like, I love the development of my employees. I loved the PDP process of sitting down, creating goals, setting metrics, putting action plans against those. Like, I love that part of being a manager. And so I said, I should be in training and development. Like, I should be in the HR department. I shouldn't be out on the floor. But I could never bridge that gap, right? Like, I couldn't communicate how my skill set could serve an organization in that regard. So what suggestions, what advice do you have for individuals? Is it networking with people who are in your ideal role and getting a better understanding of, their strengths and what they see the needs are for that type of role?
That's absolutely a great way to do it, is to network and to, okay, I think this is what I want to do. Let me go talk to people who are doing it. And I had some of my employees do that. There was one young guy that worked for me who he saw this job posting and he's like, oh, I think this would be great. I'm like, okay, go for it. Go interview for it. Here's somebody I know that's in that role. Call him.
Yeah.
I knew the role better than he did, because I've known people who were in it, and I knew he wasn't going to be a fit. It wasn't going to fit for him, but I can't tell him that. I'm his supervisor. I shouldn't be telling him that, because it sounds like I'm holding him back. So I said, here's somebody, go talk to him. So he interviewed for the job. He talked to the person that I knew. I said, oh yeah, tell him Carol told you to call. And so he did, and then he came to the realization, yeah, that wasn't the job for me. Yeah. So you've got to have that willingness to explore and figure out, will it work for me? So it's not saying, okay, I want to change. What's the right change? Yeah. And sometimes you got to explore it.
So let's hone in on that change piece, because another question that I see a lot of people dealing with, and my clients are oftentimes at that crossroads with their careers as well. I was actually thinking about that as I was preparing for our conversation, of like, more than half of my clients right now have just changed jobs while we work together, or are in the process of interviewing for new jobs. So how do you identify it's not me, it's you, right? Like, what are the red flags that women in STEM should be looking for to say, it's time for something new? Because I think that we can kind of, the new trends of the professional life cycle is that we're in roles for a much shorter period of time. And that has some benefit. It also has some drawbacks, right? So how do you advise your clients on when to know it's time to leave?
I think that's really kind of personal thing. So what I've found is, if you're wondering, is it me or is it them? Am I failing, or am I in a situation I can't succeed? And those are two different things. And part of it is to really step back and take inventory. This is something and I think women are way worse at this than men. I know I'm worse at it than my husband is to step back and say, what have I done? What are my successes? Write them down. Take that inventory. What are all the things that I'm proud of that I accomplished over the last year, 2 years, 5 years? Depending, if you're wondering, is the job not work? Am I failing in the job, or is the job failing me? If you're asking yourself, I'm not cut, as you said, I'm not cut out for this. If that thought's going through your head, stop and look at what have you succeeded at. And then when you get back in touch with, wait a minute, I've done all these great, amazing things, and yet you feel like you've lost your confidence in your ability to do the job. If you can list a whole bunch of things you've done really well, but you're doubting your ability, it's really not you. And then I like to encourage people to think about, okay, what are you hearing from outside of you? So ignore that inner voice, that inner critic that will gladly tell us everything we're doing wrong. But think about, what are people telling you? And I've had spots where I've had bosses say, you have a lot of potential, but I need you here for it. Those are red flags. Those are bad situations. So if you're hearing from other people that, well, you did okay, but, or in your performance review, if you have a manager like one of mine, who he gave me like a 4.7 out of 5, but when he was talking to me, and his written comments was a catalog of everything I had screwed up over the year.
Oh, wow.
But he rated me like a 4.5 or a 4.7. So what message am I getting? I'm getting the message that I'm not good enough. And that actually was at the company I was at 14 years. He was my first boss. I transferred factories, and it was a whole different game. And he actually helped me transfer. So he was a good person. He was a horrible manager. And some of it is, look at those kind of things. What's going on in the environment around you? Are you dealing with somebody who's a bully? I had a boss who was a bully. His communication style was to bully, berate, and belittle. That's him, not me. So it's look at the environment and really be honest with yourself. What you've done well. And I bet you'll find, if you're in a place where you need to leave that role, you're going to see a mismatch. I am really succeeding. Like you were succeeding, but you were burning out because the expectations were out of alignment. That's the other thing to look for. You were expected to be on call 24/7. That's not sustainable for anybody.
Right.
But how often do you see it? One of the jobs I was in, my predecessor worked 6 to 6, Monday through Friday. He worked about 8 hours on Saturday or 6 hours or so on Saturday, and then he was in again on Sunday. I wasn't going to do it. I told my boss when I took the job I wasn't going to work those kind of hours. And they still promoted me. It's shocking. But I got the job done by less. I didn't buy into that expectation, and I was able to finesse my way around it. But what are those expectations?
I think communication is another big one too, and we see this a lot in the conversations that we're witnessing, either with clients or with women that are working in these fields. Is that there is not clear communication in terms of expectations. There isn't a way to talk about values and priorities within the organization, and there's a lack of receptibility from management in talking about different ways of working, or talking about, the things that we'd like to see done differently. I've worked in environments at both ends of the spectrum. One that was very, very good at communicating, always had open dialogue about what we need to be doing to improve our organization, how to improve the experience for the employee. And then I've worked for organizations where there was zero communication along that front, and it felt very hostile to bring something up that might be perceived as working differently because it didn't support the bottom line of productivity. And so if you find that the culture is just lacking the supportive communication to be able to talk about your career trajectory, to be able to talk about how to make things better, then that's another clear indication that it's not you, it's the organization. But we also need to ask ourselves, what baggage do I have around communication that I'm not communicating clearly what I need? There was a supervisor, a boss I had at my last corporate job, where we would go into a room together, just the two of us, and we'd ask each other, what do you need from me? And it was the best conversations because it was honest, it was clear, it was direct. And it took me a while to really trust that he would be receptive to what I would ask for, right? To be able to say, okay, I hear you, let's work on that. And I wouldn't always get what I wanted, right? But there would always be a communication towards, okay, here's the problem, and we're working together to solve that problem, rather than you're the problem, right? And so look for those pathways of communication. And if they're not there, and it's not because of your own baggage with communication, then it's a good time to look for other opportunities, either transferring to, like you did, another role within the same organization but perhaps a different location, or into a new career altogether. Whew, we could talk about this a long time. I say that every week.
Absolutely.
Every client, every guest I have on just is such an expert in their regard, and we get so excited talking about these things. But in observance of the lunch hour and making sure everyone has plenty of time to still eat their lunch while watching this, we'll wrap it up there. Carol, if anyone who's watching is eager to learn more about you and about how you serve your clients, how can they do so?
So they can go out to my website. It's caroldougherty.com, so easy enough. Or they can reach out to me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on LinkedIn. And it's Carol Dougherty on Facebook, Carol Dougherty MBA on LinkedIn, and Carol S. Dougherty on Instagram. The joy of having common names. Probably be worse if it was my maiden name, which is Smith. But so they come to me there. I do a Wednesday, I do a live and learn type thing where I'm talking about strategies to grow your career. And they can sign up. There's a sign up on my website for that. It's called Midweek Madness Break, Career Growth Conversations with Women in STEM. Because if we do, like you said, we got to take a little bit of time to focus on our growth. It's so easy to get caught up in it. And I talk about a range of topics. Next week, I'm going to be talking about how do you speak up effectively? So how do you bring your concerns to the table, and in a way that will get you heard instead of being labeled as a whiner? So I do that. So that's one of the ways that I'm doing. And I'd love to talk. Anybody who has questions about this stuff, please reach out. I'd love to have a conversation.
Absolutely. Well, they will leave richer than they came. That is for sure. Thank you so much for being with us this week. Folks, we'll see you again next Thursday, noon Central Time, for another Lunch and Learn. Look forward to chatting with you all then. Until then, have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, and let's see each other next Thursday.